Hey guys, welcome back to Warp Record Podcast. Today we're breaking down Kendrick and when we think he's going to return. So let's get right into this, man. What do you think about Kendrick's hiatus, the 5 year one, not the current one? And how long do you think the next one's going to be if there is one?
I think there's definitely going to be a hiatus. Honestly, it's probably going to be. I hope it's not as long as his last one. I don't think I could do that. That's 5 years is way too long. But I definitely think it's probably going to be over a year at least. Honestly, I hope it is because I just whatever Kendrick drops, it's going to be quality. But yeah, probably a couple of years. What do you think?
Year or two, that's a safe bet for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't be mad about it. At this point, I think it's safe to say his discography is basically complete. It's nearly perfect.
yeah.
I consider it to basically be perfect.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm happy for everything that he's given us. But on the topic of Kendrick, let's talk about what's next. I think maybe instead of a solo effort, we might see a more pgLang collective effort.
Yeah.
Uh, One idea that I think would be really cool would be a pgLang collective album. You've got Baby Keem that can contribute. You've got Tana Leone that can contribute. You've even got Dave Free, someone who's Kendrick's worked with throughout his whole career that he's brought over with him to pgLang. So, how do you feel about a sort of kind of like the way Dreamville's done two collective records, sort of like the way that the Cactus Jack collective did their little project together? How would you feel about a pgLang collective group effort?
I think it'd be really interesting. They would definitely have to bring in some more artists, I think, to make it a more of a collective. Because at this point, it would just be like a Baby Keem Kendrick collab with a Tana Leone just sprinkled in it. But yeah, I would really like them to bring in some different sounds and people and stuff that Kendrick hasn't really hasn't really worked with it before. I think that'd be very interesting.
I think so too. And, it's hard not to talk about it, but I think everybody's mind was on a Baby Keem and Kendrick collab album,
Yeah.
especially after seeing the way that Kendrick showed up on the Melodic Blue.
Right.
It almost felt like one he was on the project so much, but
Right.
I'd love to see that too.
Yeah.
I could understand if they didn't want to go in that direction, but tell me how you feel about that, and tell me what you think that would sound like.
I think it would sound. I would hope it would be very experimental. I mean, Baby Keem has definitely shown he has a good talent for production choice. He's produced a lot of tracks on Mr. Morale, and Kendrick was all over the Melodic Blue. I think they both have a good dynamic when it comes to um, pulling the best expressions out of each other, and like Kendrick was doing things on like, Family Ties or Range Brothers that I really hadn't heard him do before, and I think it'd be very interesting.
It almost seems like Baby Keem's sort of experimental and even like his youthful uh, attitude sort of brings out a more playful side of Kendrick, like
Yeah,
you said, like something that we haven't gotten to see in a while.
definitely.
Some of the some of the vocal inflections we've seen from Kendrick
Yeah,
over the last year, and it's just different, and I like it. I enjoy it. I think it's cool. So it's a way for him to mix things up.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so that's good. I think we'd all be happy with sort of a collective or a collab album from the PG Lang circle. Um, what do you think about this rock inspired record? Now, for those of you all who don't know, Kendrick, there was word that Kendrick had cooked up an album that had been inspired by rock. And this was in 2020. This was what was supposed to drop imminently in 2020. I'm assuming the pandemic is what had that become shelved. Do you think that this record we got, Mr. Morale, is the rock record sort of just reworked to be more of a piano somber record? Or do you think that there's a Kendrick album that's inspired by rock that's sort of just sitting out there waiting to be distributed?
I'm sure there's definitely tracks that still exist that he did morph into Mr. Morale, but I definitely think whatever he had created has evolved into Mr. Morale. I mean, he openly talked about his writer's block and how he was struggling for a few years there to really get his feet off the ground when it came to a new project. And I definitely think if he had a full rock project, he probably wouldn't shelf it. He probably would have dropped it. But I would really like to see him go that route. I mean, you saw some rock flares all over Damn, with having U2 on Triple X, and you know, I would really like to see that. I mean, Kendrick has his little pockets of genres, like he did his jazz thing, and he did his West Coast rap thing with Good Kid, Mad City. Um, but yeah, I would really like to. I'd really like to hear him branch out into some new sounds.
You're right, and the way he sort of taps into different genres and his different eras has been really cool to watch. It's nice when you watch an artist that can reinvent themselves,
Hmm.
or at least expand upon their sound or change it with each release. I mean, Kendrick certainly has been very successful at that. Um, so let's talk about maybe a less optimistic future. Um, do you think there's any chance that Kendrick sort of falls into a Jay-Z esque role where, or sort of like Rihanna as well, where the focus moves away from music, sort of just turns into living life, business ventures, and they tackle music if and when they feel inspired, but certainly not nearly as active as he's been in the first half of his career.
I feel like it's inevitable. I mean,
Hmm.
it's probably gonna happen at some point. I mean, everybody loses that spark, especially in art. But I bet Kendrick has a good few albums in him before he hits that point. I mean, Mr. Morale definitely wasn't a slump. I mean, it's the same standard as we expect for Kendrick. It's I feel like it's gonna age very well, and I feel like he still has a lot more gas left in the tank, and I feel like I really don't want him to go into the Jay Z mode, because even though Jay Z is releasing good music, I feel like that fire that Jay Z had earlier on his career is just kind of the flames gone out, and he's just kind of like cruising. And even though that album is really cool, I would hate to see that happen to Kendrick. I mean, he's still under the age of 40, and I mean, people like Kanye West, deep into his 40s, is releasing still dropping music, and I think Kendrick is on his level of musical talent and ability. So I really hope that he doesn't fade out.
What about Nas, right? I mean,
Right?
we're
Yeah. I mean,
watching.
King's Disease 1, 2, and 3. I mean, those he's definitely still got it, and there's. And I think it used to be kind of a people used to clown on people that were older rapping, probably about 10 years ago, but I feel like now it's a lot more widely accepted. You got people like a Freddie Gibbs who's 40 years old, basically, still, sounding youthful, and it's
Well, I mean, what about Danny Brown
right.
breaking
Yeah,
into the
Danny
game at
Brown's dropping
30?
40. He's 42 years old.
My favorite. What about Future? He's 39 and he's still rapping about codeine.
Wait,
So
Future's 39?
he is. I know, but I feel like people don't even
I didn't know
realize
that.
that
I had
because
no
the
idea. I thought he was probably early 30s.
I know the music still sounds completely different.
Yeah.
So
Or Lil Wayne. I mean, Lil Wayne's, he's kind of hit or miss nowadays, but he's still dropping music, and he's still seems like he's putting the effort out there. I didn't realize Drake's getting a little older too. I mean, in a few years Drake's gonna be pushing 40. I mean, I wonder if Drake's gonna be singing about his ex is still at age 40.
as there's definitely no limit, right? And we've
Definitely.
seen a lot of artists that have been able to produce great music at older ages. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see where he takes it. He doesn't owe us anything. He's given us so much great art to
Definitely.
begin with, but when you get stuff that's that great, you can't help but want more, right? So I
Yeah, it's
hope we get
it's
to hear something else from him.
it's a selfish want, but he's in my opinion he's the greatest of all time, and I think that I think he definitely has some gas left in the tank, and I think he might not have he. It's possible he hasn't hit his ceiling yet.
It's possible,
Yeah, definitely.
absolutely. So, anyways, guys, if you're a fan of Kendrick, leave us a comment down below. Tell us where you think he's going to go next. I think it's anyone's guess at this point, and I'm curious to see what other people think about this next direction Kendrick's going to take. And leave a like if you enjoyed it, and we'll have some more really interesting content coming next week.